Alright, welcome back everyone. It's good to be back. So, once again, we are here to talk about another topic that really needs to be covered. And I'd just like to throw out right now, another reason why I haven't been able to upload content lately. I know I kind of sound like a broken record here, explaining myself why I can't do this and why I can't do that. Recently, I was on my way to work in the morning and someone rear-ended me. And when I pulled over to the side of the road, they took off. So, I've been in the process of getting my truck fixed. It's still not fixed yet. Insurance is actually going to take care of it, which I'm grateful for. But right now let me fix the phone real quick. Right now it's still broken, and the bunghole who hit me is still out there. So that's another reason why I haven't been able to make as much content as I have in the past, because I've been talking to insurance. Had to bring my truck in for a examination from the collision company, and they gave an estimate to the insurance company, and it's just a great big gigantic mess. I don't get where people get off, doing stuff like that, and then giving the person that you hit, giving them the finger like that. So been a while, but here we are again. So the topic of today's video here is the language of dog nuts. The language that people who love dogs use. If you pay attention to videos from interviews or demonstrations or news reports or anything involving a dog, you will notice that depending on the context of what has happened or what is currently going on, the type of speech dynamics that the dog nuts use will vary to suit their need to push dogs for that particular situation. Now, when I say the needs of the dog nuts, 100% of the media, and we're talking Republican and Democrat bias. There are liberal and there are conservative news networks, and pretty much always they never ever want to stick the blame where it belongs. And I'm not saying that one news company is completely trustworthy. I think conservative and liberal media, you can pretty much you could see right through all of their bias. Journalism used to be just reporting the facts and let people make up their own minds. And now the media is just, a way to lead a flock of sheep, so to speak. So, language of dog nuts. That's the topic of today's video. So, here are the simple examples of word manipulation, okay? The way you describe a situation, thing, place, or person can have an enormous effect on how others view things after your explanation. For example, if I wanted to insult someone who was overweight, I would mention the fact that they're fat in a insulting way. I would call them a fatty or a fat reject or a fat guy, fat chick, fat pig, something like that. Something that uses the word fat, it sticks it to the subject in a negative way. If I wanted to touch on the subject of them being overweight lightly, I could say something along the lines of, oh yeah, big guy, big girl. You hear that. Oh yeah, he's a little big, she's a little big, husky, plus size. You're saying the exact same thing, but the way you've said it is different. The way you say things changes the descriptiveness of what is being said. Half empty, half full, they mean the same thing. But one is focusing on the positive, the other is focusing on the negative. Now, everyone manipulates their words to describe things the way they want to describe them. It's normal, you know. If you're telling a story and you want to get people to laugh, you'll try to say things in a comical way. It's part of normal human behavior. Where dog nuts are in the wrong is when they use these words and tactics and mannerisms to purposely be deceptive, into painting a picture that the dog has done nothing wrong, even when it has done something bad. We're not going to stick the blame on the dog. We're gonna shift the focus to the person who was attacked, or how brave they are. How it's almost like it happened to them, not in the sense of something did it to them. They don't want to focus on the thing that attacked. They want to focus on how the person handled it. And they want to take the focus off the fact that, you know, the dog, or, you know, whatever, we're talking about dogs, the dog viciously attacked a child. They don't want to focus on that. In the event that they are trying to project dogs in a positive light, okay, this might be a goofy looking set of pictures, but I chose them for a reason. One of the most common things you'll see dog people do is refer to their dog as their baby, their best friend, their companion, or the dog will be doing something, and they'll say something like, "Oh, look, he's smiling, he's happy." You know, you hear all the time, "She loves me." The way that they describe their dog is humanizing. We all know dogs cannot actually use their facial muscles to smile in the event that they could be perceived, that they could get what could be perceived as happiness. Like, dogs don't laugh when they're happy, when they receive food, or you know, or whatever. We all know that a dog can't be their baby. You cannot mix human and dog DNA. Like, there are no human dog hybrids that we know of. We all know that the dog cannot love them. And that's one of the biggest things that they have a hard time getting past, is that the dog cannot love them. It's impossible for the dog to love them, because it has a brain that is not capable of doing so. But they anthropomorphize the dog so that in their own mind, the dog has these traits and characteristics that it is impossible for it to have. To anthropomorphize is to apply human traits or qualities to a non-human thing, such as objects, or animals, or the weather. But unlike personification, you notice how the first half of the word of personification is person. Unlike personification, in which this is done through a figurative description, anthropomorphism is literal. A son with a smiling face, for example, or talking dogs in a cartoon. You know, Family Guy, Brian the dog. I mean, he's dating human women. He's talking to the baby. He is, you know, having these 100% human activities like driving and talking and eating. And that would be an example of anthropomorphism. It's literal. The dog nuts will speak for the dogs, ask the dogs questions, and then reply for them. They will apply all these human characteristics to their dogs, which is also more proof that what they really want deep down inside is human interaction. They don't actually want dogs for the dog qualities that they have. They want their dog to be a person. So when the dog does something wrong, such as defecate in the house, bark, bite someone, or just generally cause trouble, you will notice it is never blamed on the dog. When the dog does something wrong, the dog is an inanimate object that, it couldn't have done this on its own. This worthless animal is stupid and destructive. Why did we ever decide to adopt this stupid thing? We should get rid of this stupid thing. You'll never ever hear that from the dog nuts. When a dog does these sorts of things, like ripping up the frickin' couch, or chewing holes in the wall, or like the people that I know, their dog eats a whole pack of underwear. When a dog does these things, you'll hear stuff like, man, he just needs more training. We know it's not his fault. It's not her fault. The dog does these stupid things off of instinct until you condition it against its instincts with food. The fact that you have to condition a dog against its instincts to do these things should be your first clue that these things don't belong in the human home. The other term we always hear, the language of dog nuts, all dogs need training. There are no bad dogs, just bad owners. It's all about how you raise them. Like I said in my other video, you cannot raise a dog. So, if you've ever seen a dog that has acquired a behavior that its owners deem as undesirable, they'll say that the dog needs training. It really doesn't make sense why anyone would want to own an animal that acts like a mutant and needs mental conditioning just to exist in human territory. But nevertheless, it's stated by all dog trainers and experts that, quote, any dog can use training. Nicole Ellis, a certified professional dog trainer with Rover, is the one who the quote is from. It provides mental stimulation and helps grow the bond between you and your pet. And you notice that here we go again. They say pet when they don't want to exclude. They don't want to single out dogs, so they say pet. We don't say dog, we say pet or animal. But while every dog, now it's dog. While every dog can benefit from training, some need it more urgently than others. So, immediately they go from pet or animal to dog. It's always dog. When you train a dog, all you have really done is condition it against its instincts with food as the reward for certain behaviors. However, dog nuts will state this as fact. It's fact. All dogs need training. They need to be trained. You just got to train it. It's accepted as fact by almost everyone. Even people who aren't dog nuts, it's a commonly accepted fact. Dogs need training. You come over to someone's house, have a rough interaction with their dumb dog when it jumps all over you. What would most people say? They get done with the dinner, get together, they're in the car. Man, they need to train that dog. They need to get that dog some obedience training. Why? Why is that the first thing that comes into your mind? That dog needs to be trained. How about that dog needs to be taken back behind the barn and, use your imagination. An aphorism is a universally accepted truth stated in a concise, to-the-point way. When dog nuts say their witty little frickin' catchlines about dogs and how all dogs are innocent, but they just need to be trained, they are using an aphorism. They are usually witty and memorable. These little one-liners. No bad dogs, just bad owners. All dogs need training. These one-liners. People They're witty and memorable, often becoming adages or proverbs almost, as people repeat them over and over. All dog people have seen enough dog behavior that is undesirable get changed with training. And they've all come to accept the fact that there are no bad dogs, only bad owners. Like people, someone I know, they were having, they got a dog, and the stupid thing would just jump all over the place and do all the things that, regular things that dogs do because they're deranged, mentally crazy animals. They're mutants. And, well, I want them to stop doing that, so we got to send them to obedience school for 30 days. We're going to pay a ton of frickin' money to get that done so that the dog can exist in the home. Like, the amount of work that you have to do just so that a dog can exist in the home is insane. And to me, as somebody who, I didn't always hate dogs in the way that I do now. I never liked them, but it just seemed, as an adult, somebody who has to pay their own bills, somebody who has limited time because of work and, situations. Why? If you have children, you're going to have time that is taken up by your children. That's part of life. I mean, some people don't want to have kids, and that's fine, but, natural. It's natural to have kids. It's natural for children to take up your time. So why would you want to add something in all of that hustle and bustle and craziness and hard work and limited time? Why would you want to add something to that to make it even harder? Dogs can only make your life harder. And, or at the end of the day, I can sit down on the couch and, pet the dog or whatever. Pet a stuffed freaking animal. Or if you have to have an animal, get a freaking cat. Cats do not have the capability of mauling your newborns to the extent that a pit bull would be willing and able to do. When a dog does something good, oh, the dog's fetching the ball. What a smart dog. How do you ever learn to do that? You'll also notice, even though it's not the dog's fault at all when it does something bad, when it does something good, it's perceived by the owners as good anyway. The dog is given 100% of the credit. Oh, he's a good boy, good girl, smart dog, an intelligent breed to be sure, a well-trained dog, etc., etc. Yeah, we had to spend a lot of money to get this thing to the point where it can figure out that I want it to go get a ball, and then it can bring the ball back covered in slobber and diseases and parasites. And then I can throw it, and then it'll go get it, and then I can throw it, and then it will go get it, and that's somehow valuable. The dog is given credit for the supposed good things it does. But so then why not the bad things? These people blame everything but when the dog does something bad. But when it does something good, in order to get food, it's 100% the dog's own doing. It does what it does because it's an amazing creature, because of affection and intelligence and unconditional love. It loves me for who I am. Okay. It is so self-evident. If you look at the way the dog nuts present the facts about dogs, and some of the things actually are facts, some are not, they will steer clear of all of the negatives, and even potential negatives, and amp up all the perceived positives. For example, on AVMA, more than 4.5 million people are bitten by dogs each year in the United States. And by the way, AVMA, I believe, is the American Veterinary Medical Association. I believe that's what it is when I looked it up. According to them, 4.5 million people are bitten by dogs each year in the United States. So this isn't just a one-time deal. It's every year. It's consistent. More than 800,000 people receive medical attention for dog bites. According to the CDC, at least half of those bitten are children. Now it should end right there. That statement should be taken for what it is. 800,000 people every year have to go to the hospital. Every year get medical care for being attacked by a dog. 4.5 people being bitten by dogs every year. It should end right there. But they don't stop. They have to point out these bites result in approximately 16 fatalities. So, 4.5 million people are bitten by dogs every year, but only 16 of them died. As if to say, even though dogs bite millions of people every year, you probably won't die. So it's not that dangerous. These mutts are capable of doing damage that sends you to the hospital, and 4.5 million of them are trying to do that damage to you every year. Just because it didn't happen this time doesn't mean that the dog is innocent or not dangerous. Like, if that dog bites you, it was trying to hurt you. Remember, though, remember, here's a list of 20 reasons why owning a dog is good. Focus on the fake good reasons. Don't mention the bad stuff. It's no big deal. Let's see, this is kind of here, health benefits of owning a dog. Pet allergies are down. Dogs can act as an early warning to detect a seizure. Regular dog walking can improve your fitness levels. Infants are less likely to blah, blah, blah. And then so small that you can't read it. 4.5 million people in the U.S. suffer dog bites every year. But they'll make it so small that you'll never catch it. Mercy for bad dogs, justice for bad owners. This is where it really gets nuts. Okay. If this isn't the proof that you need, I don't know what is. The behavior of giving the dog credit for the good things it does and covering the dog's negative actions absolutely has no end. Anytime a dog owner kills or maims or tortures a dog, people will come out by the hundreds of thousands in support of the dog. If these people are caught with, and convicted under animal cruelty laws, these people will want this person's head on a platter. They want this person to be tried and convicted of animal cruelty. And they'll say things like, how could someone do this to an innocent animal? They emphasize the fact that the animal was innocent, that it hadn't done anything wrong and it didn't deserve to get this sort of treatment. You'll hear them say things like, and I've seen this on Facebook personally, I just ask that whatever they did to the dog, it should be done to them. If they poured hot candle wax in that dog's eyes, that's what they deserve. If they beat the living crap out of their dog after it mauled their baby, then it doesn't even out. Because the dog is innocent. Even though the dog did something bad, it's not the dog's fault. So, the transitive property there doesn't, A equals B equals C. That doesn't work. If the dog bites the baby and you kill the dog, then you need to be killed. Or whatever, Sometimes what happens is a dog nut will have their dog attack their child. And just for a moment, it will all be so clear to them. And in that moment of clarity, they'll lash out at that dumb mutt and either kill it or kick the crap out of it or whatever, and then drop it off somewhere to just die, And you'll see, these dogs are then found and nursed back to health and given to an unsuspecting family who has no idea what lies in store. You hear these stories all the time. Over this weekend, animal volunteers found a beaten and battered dog, and it had 3 broken legs and 2 broken ribs, and it was left for dead, but now we nursed it back to health, and it's just so happy, and now its owners can go to the park with their dog, and they can have a loving animal in their family, and it's all so warm and fuzzy. You know, it's just ridiculous. And you got stuff like this. These animals are the most likely to be abused. 53% for dogs. And then they got to divide the dog category into pit bull and non-pit bull. And then, 16% cats, 8% horses, 4% chickens. You're telling me the 6 billion chickens that live on this earth, and we're killing probably 1 billion of them every year. That's not abuse. Kicking the crap out of your dog is abuse. 53% of dogs are abused, by the most loving, caring owners, but chickens being hung from their feet and having their throat cut and all the blood draining into a tank down below and then having their feathers scalded off, that's not abuse. Only 4% of chickens, that's not abuse. And here, rally to justice in animal cruelty case. Dogs starved while the animal owners were out of town. Well, these dog nuts had some dogs and they didn't feel like feeding them for a little frickin' while, and the dogs starved to death. And now we gotta rally together for justice. So the next slide is really frickin' crazy, and it's crazier than anything I've covered. Crazier than anything I've seen anybody else cover. I haven't seen anybody cover this. This was shocking, even as far as I've seen. And I've seen every single one of most of your videos. Mercy for bad dogs, justice for bad owners continued. So on the flip side, okay, when a dog kills someone, people will still lobby and petition for the dog. And the backwardness of this is so beyond wrong. It is one of the most ridiculous aspects of dog nuttery. The inability to attribute a dog of doing any wrong, no matter how vicious and violent it is or its actions are. Now we're going to go to this article. Hopefully it works. I'm not joining you for the fight for America's future. German dog that killed owners with an S may not be put down after outcry. More than 250,000 signed petition to save murder machine. Oh, it's not a pit bull either. It's a Staffordshire Terrier, which mauled a woman and her son in Hanover. So this happened, I think, in Germany. A dog that was due to be put down after, get this, mauling its owners to death. So this pit bull killed 2 people. It killed 2 people. It didn't just, get a hold of one really good and then, that person got away, but then the other one, it actually killed him. It killed 2 freaking people. This dog was due to be put down after mauling its owners to death. It may receive a stay of execution after German authorities admitted mistakes following a nationwide petition to save it. You got some dog nuttery going on in Germany. Murder Machine, a Staffordshire Terrier, was captured by firefighters who broke into a flat. If you don't know what a flat is, it's an apartment, I believe. um, sorry, near Hanover last Tuesday and found the bodies of its owners, named as Lazim, 52 years old, and her son, Laridin, 27. I'm probably butchering those names, but this dog killed 2 people. An autopsy found they had bled to death after being attacked by the animal. They don't say dog. Oh, it's not a dog. It's an animal now. The dog was to be put down, but after a quarter freaking million people signed a petition titled "Let Murder Machine Live," German person with ridiculous name, a city spokesman, said authorities were ready to admit they had made mistakes by failing to remove Murder Machine from its owners, having recognized that they were overwhelmed by the dog, which had been trained to fight. So, it's not the dog being vicious by nature. He was trained to fight. An expert appraisal, had it been carried out, would have led to the owner being banned from keeping this animal. It's an animal now. German nut job said authorities were investigating the possibility of placing the animal. You notice, they were investigating the possibility. Here we got all this tiptoe, light-footed language of placing the animal in a secure facility for dogs with behavioral difficulties. And even in one sentence, first it's animal, then it's dog, then it's animal, then it's animal, and then it's dog. I mean, look at dog, animal, animal, dog, dog, animal. These people, the way they flip-flop, this is manipulative language. Anyways, according to the newspapers, Murder Machine had been bought by German lady 8 years before, shortly before the early release from prison of her ex-husband, who attacked her with an axe in 2005. Injuries she sustained meant she had to use a wheelchair. When her son, who had learning disabilities, let me back up. A social worker arranged for the woman's son, who had learning difficulties, to take the dog to a trainer after recognizing that the family was unable to cope with its permanent aggression. The social worker said in a report at the time she was convinced the dog, quote, had been trained to be a fighting machine. On the dog trainer's advice, the veterinary inspection office was due to have ruled on whether the dog would have been allowed to stay with the family, blah, 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 blah. Owner failed to present the animal to the... Oh, animal, here we go. I should keep like a tab and see how many times they flip-flop. To authorities, there's been no follow-up. Inadequate response to neighbors' frequent complaints about the dog's continuous barking. So now it's a dog again. So... you got a woman in a wheelchair who the dog killed her, and you got her learning disability son, and it killed her. So it killed a 53-year-old and a 20-year-old. Now, most 20-year-old, males are done growing by the time they're 20. So this pit bull did not just take down, it mauled a baby in a moment of unclarity. It went on with a vicious, sustained attack and killed 2 adults. So even though this murder machine killed both people in the home, instead of focusing on what a monster this thing is, what do they focus on? Saving the dog. 250,000 people signed a petition to let the mutant live. They're going to focus on how it's a Staffordshire Terrier, not a pit bull or a bully breed. They won't say those words because pit bulls are misunderstood. And the authorities are going to admit that they made mistakes by failing to remove Murder Machine from its owners. So it's their fault. It's not the dog's fault. It's their fault. They should have done something. And you know, the dog had been trained to fight by its previous owners, so it's their fault. It's our fault. They're gonna technicalize the whole situation and break it down and perform an investigation, and then they'll conclude it was an accident. And the farther down you go on that article, you know, I didn't read the whole thing, but if you go farther down, you'll read that there were numerous attempts to break into the center to rescue the dog. There were people who were trying to break into this detention center to save this dog who killed its owners. They said, quote, "We have received hundreds of offers from people who want to take the dog." Schwarzfeld, the person working at the detention center where the dog was being kept, said he said that. So these dog nuts are trying to break into a place to rescue a dog that killed its whole frickin' family. They're not worried about, you know, just obtaining any dog. You know, they could go down to the shelter and rescue a mutt that they don't have any history on. They want the one that killed its owners, both of them. And if they died from blood loss, you know it wasn't just a quick bite or a little nip, as they like to say. The language of these dog nuts. Karina Ludwig, one of the signatories to the petition, so this is the person who signed one of the people who signed the petition. Murder Machine deserves a second chance with someone who is experienced with dogs. Please help him to be able to finally enjoy a loving life, which is appropriate for its species. It deserves a second chance with someone who's more experienced, as if to say that this dog's life is worth it, and that someone who's just more experienced would be able to control the mutt. And at no point did anyone stop and focus on the fact that this pit bull, as that's what it is, it's a pit bull, killed its whole family. No one wanted to stop and focus on the fact that this pit bull killed its family, because that's what pit bulls do. No one wanted to focus on that's what pit bulls do. It's not abnormal. It's not an accident. It's not the authorities' fault. You don't need to use all this manipulative, lying, deceitful language. It's a pit bull, and that's what pit bulls do. They maul people. So to wrap this one up, okay, you've seen how crazy these people are. And I'm here to tell you, do not fall for the manipulative language of dog owners. Recognize their attempts to project dogs, especially ones like that have in a positive light by making light of the bad and emphasizing the good. Have some balls and do the right thing by calling out these lunatics on this behavior, even if you're the only one doing it. Recognize the fact that if the pit bull in the article could kill its whole family, that any other pit bull could also do the same. And because of the proof that we have from things that have actually happened, okay, this isn't a theory. This isn't, oh, well, I think this because of this. It actually happened. Because it actually happened, we can conclude that pit bulls have no place in human homes. And being aware of the fact that there is danger in this world, you need to keep your home safe, keep yourself and those around you safe by any means necessary. I urge you to arm yourself legally and get familiar with your weapon and be willing to use it if the circumstances present itself. That was pretty much the end of my rant on that topic, but I do want to talk about, being legally armed. In the day and time that we live in, the crime is just, there's no guarantee. There was a shooting 2 streets up from my dad's house last week. The place where I lived at one point in time. And I mean, it wasn't the greatest neighborhood, but it was a decent one. And these crazy, frickin' kids, they got something to prove. They pull up in the parking lot and they empty the magazines of their guns on some girl. And they don't even hit her because, they can't shoot. They were hoping to hit her, but, they're throwing bullets. And at no point did anybody step in to help her. And she couldn't help herself. This world is dangerous. And, dogs present a humongous danger. But we live in a dangerous world, period. And when I say you should legally arm yourself, that's something that you should be doing anyways. You should be ready and willing to look out for your own safety. And that doesn't just include guns or knives. Learn how to do CPR. Learn first aid. Check the batteries in your smoke detector. Make sure the locks on your doors are sturdy. There are so many things that you can do to increase your chances in being safe in this dangerous world. To protect yourself against mutts, though, you're gonna need a good weapon, and I'll have a video coming out before too long when I get the chance to make it about weapons that you can use to protect yourself, not only from four-legged plague, but from two-legged plague or any other plague that you wanna talk about. So that's the end of this presentation. I just want to urge you to arm yourself legally. Become, you gotta stick up for yourself and fend for your own safety. You gotta grow a massive pair and let everyone in the room know that you are going to protect yourself and you're not afraid. And I also urge you to love the sinner and hate the worthless frickin' mutant monster murder machine dog. It's not an animal, it's a dog.